Hello students, I am back again with one more interesting chapter of computer. So let's start our second chapter, that is Introduction to Photoshop. So students, in this chapter we are going to learn about Photoshop. So before we start our chapter, let's read some learning outcomes. So after you have studied this lesson, you will be able to know about Photoshop and its various tools, create and edit a new picture, or work with different type of layers. So now let's start our first topic of this chapter, that is what is Photoshop. तो Photoshop क्या होती है, अब हम इस बारे में जानते हैं. Photoshop is a popular image changing software package. It is widely used by photographers for photo editing or fixing colors, reducing noise, adding effects, fixing brightness and contrast, and by graphic designers and web designers to create and change images for web page. Did you know, students? Photoshop was originally created by two brothers. Second, Thomas and John Knoll in 1987. Together, they developed Image Pro, which was eventually bought by Adobe to create what we now know is known as Photoshop. Now, here we have our next topic, that is starting Photoshop. So to start Photoshop, follow the given steps. These are some steps you have to follow. First, click on start button, select all program, then select Adobe Master Collection CS6, then select Adobe Photoshop CS6. The Adobe Photoshop window appears. Here you can see the interface of opening a Photoshop. Now let's start our next topic, that is the Photoshop workspace. You can use combination of tools, menu commands and palette based feature to open and edit your digital image in Photoshop. Here you can see the interface of Photoshop. On the top you can see menu bar, on the other hand you can see option bar, and in bottom you can see toolbox, and on the other hand you can see panels. So students, did you know the path selection tool makes shape or segment selection showing anchor points, direction line and direction points. So students, let's read about menu bar in detail. Display the menu that contain most of Photoshop's commands. Option bar displays controls that let you customize the selected tool in the toolbox. Toolbox display a variety of icons, each one representing an image editing tool. You click and drag inside your image to apply most of the tools. Image window contain each image you open in Photoshop. Then panels, small window that give you access to common command and resource. You can click the table and icon to display and hide panels. Now student, here we have a note to read. A pixel is a single dot on a picture, display or in a digital image. The quality of an image depends on the number of pixels per inch that makes up the image. Now let's start our next topic, that is the Photoshop toolbox. The toolbox contains many separate tools. You can simply click on the tool to select it. For working on your image, if you leave your mouse cursor over the tool, Adobe Photoshop will indicate the name of the tool and the keyboard shortcut to access the tool. Some of the tools are stacked in a group of tools. A small black arrow in the bottom right corner of the tool indicates additional tools are stacked behind. To access any of the tool in the stack, click and hold down the mouse button on the uppermost tool for a second. Here you can see Adobe Photoshop tools with keyboard shortcut. So students, you have to go through it and read all the shortcuts and keys. Now we are moving to our next topic, that is creating a new image windows. You can start a Photoshop project by creating blank image. Step 1, click on file, the file menu will open. Step 2, click on new, the new dialog box appears. Step 3, type a new for the new image. Step 4, type in desired dimension and resolution. Here you can see the interface along with this step. Step 5, click on the down arrow button to select the background content of the new image. Step 6, click on OK. Photoshop create a new image window at the specified dimension. The name of the file appears in the title bar. So students, did you know You can press Ctrl plus Shift plus N all together to create a new layer. Here you can see the interface of the Photoshop. We have step 7. Use Photoshop tool and command to create your image. Here you can see the interface of this step. Now our next topic is opening an image. You can open an existing image file in Photoshop. Step 1. Click on File. The File menu will open. Step 2. Click on Open. The Open dialog box appears. Step 3. Click on down arrow to see the folder that contains the image you want. Step 4. Click the file name to open a preview of image is displayed. Step 5. Click on Open. The image will open in Photoshop. Here you can see the interface. Photoshop open the image in a new window. The name of the file appear in the title bar. Here you can see the interface. Now students, our next topic, saving a file. When you save an Adobe Photoshop file, it is by default saved as a PSD file. This is the native file format of Photoshop. The save as command allow you to choose from nearly 20 different file format for your image. You can save the image in an alternative file format such as TIFF if you are printing the image, JPEG if you are sending the image to a screen, PNG. If you are using the image on the internet to save a file, follow the steps. First, click on File menu. Step 2, click on Save As or press Shift plus Ctrl plus S. Here you can see the interface. Step 3, select any file format. Step 4, click on Save. Here you can see the interface along with this step. Now move on to next topic, using Photoshop tool. So you are going to learn about how will you use Photoshop tools. So let us now know the use of some of the Photoshop tool with the help of the following activity. Here we are trying to create a collage by combining independent images of the 7 wonders of the world. Here student, we have an activity. So let's read. Copying several images into a single image and creating a collage. First, open a number of images in the Photoshop window using the open option of the file menu. Here we have opened the image of the 7 wonders of world in 7 separate image files. In this activity, we will copy all the images into the image file, the Great Wall of China JPG, which from henceforth will be called the background image. Here you can see the interface, other images which are to be copied into the background image, and on the other hand you can see the background image. Second, position the background image in the image file such that it's easy to drag other image into it. 3. Click on an image file other than the background image to make it active. 4. Select the elliptical mark tool from the toolbox and select the required portion of the image as shown ahead. 5. To change the size of the selection, click on the Select Transfer Selection option. The transfer border will appear around the selection. Increase, decrease the size of the selection mark as required. You can see the interface along with the steps. 6th, click on the elliptical mark tool again to clear the transfer border. 7. Click on Select, then Modify, then Feather to open the Feather dialog box. 8. Enter the feather radius as 40 in the dialog box and click on OK. 9. Click on the Move tool in the toolbox. Hold down the Alt key and drag the selection into the background image. 10. Click on the Edit Free Transfer or press the Ctrl plus T key. A free transfer border will appear around the copied image. Resize the image by dragging it from the corner handle. 11. After achieving a desired size, click on the Move tool. A dialog box will ask you to apply the transition or not. Click on Apply button to apply the transition. 12. With the Move tool selected, drag the image to the appropriate position as shown. First, in this picture, you can see the blurred effect has occurred due to feathering. Then, a copy of the image will appear in the background image. 13. Repeat the step 3 to 12 to copy other image into the background image as shown alongside. 14. Close all the images files except the collage that you have just created. Do not save any changes that you may have made to those files. 15. Save the collage you have created above by the name 7 Wonder Collage. So students, did you know you can press Alt plus backspace key all together to fill color in the selected part. So students, this is it from this activity. You will have to perform this activity on the Photoshop and then show it to your teacher. Now our next topic is using layers. The concept of layers is very simple to understand. A complex drawing is made up of many objects. If you have all the objects lying together, working on one object might accidentally spoil others, and your drawing could become a mess. Now, just imagine the complex drawing made up of several layers. Different objects of the drawing are on different transparent layer at their respective position. When all the layers are superimposed, you get your final drawing. Now, you can work on any object without the fear of spoiling others. So, we can say that with layer, you can work on one element without disturbing the other element. Here you can see the interface, that is background layer. Then we have layer 2. So this is how you can work on the layers. Now students, did you know you can press Ctrl plus Shift plus E keys to merge visible layers? Now, in the previous activity, all the images that you copied into the background image have actually gone into separate layer. You can check it yourself by opening the layers palette. Here, next we are going to read is layer palette. The layer palette lists all the layer sets and layer effects in an image. You can accomplish many tasks such as creating, hiding, displaying, copying and deleting layers using the button in the layers palette. To display the layers palette on your screen, open the window menu and select the layers option. Let us get familiar with the different part of the layer palette, which will help you to work with the image that have gone into the different layers. Here you can see the interface of layers. The eye icon in front of layer shows that it is visible. The brush icon appears in front of the currently selected layer. The thumbnail view of the image in the layer. Now on the other side you can see, click here to access a command menu for working with the layer. Then the layer's name, and then add a layer style icon. Then create a new layer icon, and here lastly delete layer icon. So students, did you know you must have noticed in the layers palette that the lowermost layer on which other images are placed to make a collage are named as the background layer. There can only be one background layer in an image. You can delete a background layer or create its duplicate, but you cannot change its order in the layer hierarchy. So now time to start our next topic, working with layers in the layer palette. You can work with the different layer of an image consisting of multiple layers through the layer palette. You can select a layer to work with, delete a layer that you no longer require, hide the layer which you currently do not want to see in the image, as well as do not do a number of other things with the help of the layers palette. Let us learn how to do it all one by one. So first we are going to learn is selecting layers. If you want to work with a particular layer in a multi-layered image, you need to select it from the layers palette. The step to select a layer are as follows. Now let's read selecting layers. If you want to work with a particular layer in a multi-layered image, you need to select it from the layer palette. The steps to select a layer are as follows. So here are some steps you have to follow. First is open the layer palette and click on the icon of the layer you want to work with. The layer will get selected and its name will appear on the title bar. A paint brush icon will appear against the selected layer in the layer palette, also indicating that this layer is currently active. Third, you can resize, move, erase or delete the layer image as required. Using the appropriate tool, any changes you make will be applied to the selected layer only and would not affect the other layer. So students, did you know you can select only one layer at a time? This means that only one layer can be activated at a time. Second, the lock icon that you are seeing in front of the background layer shows that it has been locked. You cannot move it above the other layer. Third, you can change the order of the rest of the layer. To change the order to the layer, click at it and drag it to the place where you want to position it. Now, our next topic is adding a new layer. You can add new layer using the layer palette by following the steps given below. First, select the layer above which you want to insert a new layer. Second, click on the Create a New Layer button on the layer palette. Step 3, a new layer will get inserted above the selected layer in the image as well as in the layer palette. You will also see the paintbrush icon shifting in front of the new layer icon, indicating that it is the currently active layer. You can see the interfaces along with the steps. Now students, did you know? After adding a blank new layer, you can draw any object into it or paste an image into it as required. Second, you can also insert a new layer by clicking at Layer, New, Layer and making the requisite entries into the New Layer dialog box. A new layer can also be added using the New Layer option of the Layer Palette menu or by pressing Shift+N key from the keyboard. Now, we are going to read renaming layers. So, newly added layer will have names like layer 1, layer 2, etc. You will need to rename layer to make their name meaningful. Let us learn how to do it. Step 1. Double click on the layer. The layer name will get selected and the cursor will be there for editing. Step 2. Enter the new name and press the enter key. The layer will get renamed. So here you can see the interface of rename layer. Now next is viewing and hiding layers. Viewing and hiding layers is important. For example, if you want to work on the content of particular layer and do not want to get confused by images on the other layer, you can hide other layer and make only that layer visible on which you are working. After completing the task, the hidden layer can be made visible. Let us see how to hide a layer. Step 1. Click on the eye icon in front of the layer which you want to hide. Step 2. The eye icon will disappear, indicating that layer has become hidden. You can see the images along with the steps. Step 3. The content of the layer will remain hidden till you make the layer visible again. To make the layer visible again, click on the empty box in front of the hidden layer. Now, next topic is locking of layers. You can lock layer to protect their content. The 4 different lock icons given at the top portion of the layer palette allow you to lock layer in 4 different ways. Follow the steps given to lock a layer. First, select the layer which you want to lock from the layer palette. So students, here you can see the interface and you have to go through with all the steps given alongside. Now students, did you know, if you change the pixel dimension, it affects not only the size of an on-screen image but also its image quality and its printed characteristics. So when all the content of a layer are locked, a lock icon displays to the right of the layer name. Now all the properties of the layer are locked. Neither can change its position in the layer palette nor can its content be changed. So students, this is it from our chapter. Let's revise this chapter through some quick recap. Adobe Photoshop can be used to create original artwork, design graphic for a web page or website, correct flaws and imperfection in a photograph, create a photo collage, etc. A small black arrow in the bottom right corner of the tool indicates additional tools are selected behind. The Save As command allows you to choose from nearly 20 different file formats of your image. Different objects of the drawing are on the different transparent layer at their respective position. The layer palette lists all the layer sets and layer effects in an image. We can select a layer to work with, delete a layer. We no longer require hide the layer or layers which we currently do not want to see in the image, as well as do a number of other things with the help of the layer palette. So students, this is it from our chapter. I hope you have learned so many new things of Photoshop in this chapter. Soon we are going to learn about many interesting chapters of computer. Till then, revise what we have learned today. Thank you.